thought I saw extra rolls of blue towels around. Right there?
Yeah.
You have more in the back.
The blue ones?
Yeah. You know you can get up and walk around and make this joke.
Hi, YouTubers. Thank you for joining us this morning. Chef Terry is a little bit late. We might have to start without him. He'll be here, right? You said he's on his way?
Yeah, he's on his way. Just a little bit of traffic.
Okay. We'll do the opening without him, and then he can join us. Does that work for you?
Sure does. I don't want this baby chair, though.
You found him, Sean.
Maybe we should gossip about Noma closing. I didn't make it part of the show, but you and I haven't had a chance to talk about it. Did you have any impressions on Red Zeppi's plan to close Noma and turn it
Well,
into
he said
an
it was
inn?
unsustainable, and I totally agree. I mean, the only
Yeah,
reason,
but hasn't he known that for years?
yeah, he's used free labor forever. So
Right.
if people were to get paid,
Yeah.
that's hard to do what he's doing.
Yeah. But why is it taking him 2 years to close it down? That's what I don't get.
Yeah, these. Yeah, we closed all of our restaurants in one day.
One day. When you know you've got a serious issue, and is he going to continue to lose that much money for
this week?
what?
There's a rumor out there that I somehow knew what the governor was planning to do, and that's why I got a jump start on it. I mean, I just heard this, and they were absolutely serious. It was the people that own Tribunale Coffee and,
Via Tribunale?
yeah,
And
the
Pete?
pizzeria and Vita Coffee.
Oh, hi, handsome.
Sorry,
That's okay.
got stuck on Union like 20
Well,
minutes.
Well, your fans are so excited that you did
Look over
come.
here.
Hey, good morning. Wow.
Yep. Terry's fans have come from all over the globe this morning.
Man, I got
From
food so
Magnolia.
bad
We
this
have guests from
morning.
Magnolia.
I was like,
Did you see the young lady on the end that used to work with you?
sure.
Oh, okay.
Aaron, good morning. And Dad? Yeah, oh, wow.
With Frank and Jim, I can't wait to hear how they all know each other.
I'm sure it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I came to thank you,
Uh-oh.
He means it. He's being sincere.
What did I do?
Gary. And sincere, and specifically to thank you.
What happened?
I had my big birthday party 2 days ago, and you had a big influence on me.
Finally, somebody who's got Rover's cookbook. Yes. We always joke with Tom because everybody comes and talk about recipes. Oh, with recipes in this place, they always have like a book from somewhere else. They never have a cookbook.
All right.
I told you I would find one that has a cookbook.
And you did.
Yes.
But he hasn't made it clear that it's from your cookbook yet.
Why? I think that's what he was talking about, right?
Well,
Oh, there it
that's
is.
only a little.
Ooh. What's the other
Ooh.
piece?
Well, we'll have to.
All right.
Do you want to sub it in for a segment?
Sure.
Which one do you want to ditch?
Right now, we'll just take a couple minutes to do it in the first segment.
Oh, okay.
Come on up there to the mic.
Oh, boy.
I love this. I love this. This becomes a segment.
It's not a whole, it's just the end of the.
Test of the week.
What a cutie pie.
Wow.
You know, she was going to help with ours too,
Oh, really?
but our for some reason our editor turned her down.
Wow. You went all the
Harriet
way.
Bell was our editor.
I
Raise the
remember
pink
her.
cheeks.
William Morrow.
Woo.
Yeah.
She was a feisty one.
Do it. Yeah. Good at her
Chocolate
job.
Marquise.
All right, we're 15 minutes late. We're going to get rolling here.
Sorry about that.
You're worth waiting for.
Welcome to the Hot Stove Society Show on Cairo Radio. We're thankful that you're joining us today. Got a big 2-hour show. We are here at the Hotel Andra, gorgeous Hotel Andra in downtown Seattle and at 4th and Virginia. Right in the midst of a bunch of my things, right? Dahlia Bakery, Serious Pie, Lola, the Hot Stove, all of that. So glad that you could join us today. Got a big show. Ben Campbell is here of Ben's Breads. He's going to open a new shop up on Finney Ridge. Looking forward to that. Is it Finney Ridge or Greenwood? Finney Ridge, right? So our listeners are clamoring for more ideas on vegetarian entrees. I wonder how many listeners that is, Ms. Hinckley.
All us vegetarian was Pam and she's eating lamb chops.
Exactly. So Pam's looking for new ideas on vegetarian entrees, attributes that we love about sable fish or black cod. There's so many. I don't know where to begin. So that's going to be
Definitely
exciting
one
to
of the
talk
easiest one to cook
Yeah.
about.
around.
Who doesn't love a coquettish coquette?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've ever had one, but I'm looking forward to making one verbally through Chef Terry's mouth. And last week we talked about Napoleon products, including the fact that the olive oil and artichokes are their best sellers with Tony Magnano. And I found out from Armandino, I had dinner with Armo on Sunday night, and I found out from Armandino that the Merlinos and the Magnanos were arch enemies in the 30s.
That's kind of what he hinted.
I
He
did not
hint
realize
at that.
And it seems like there's still, I don't think there's bad blood still, but there's memories.
Memories for sure.
Memories of what's going on with the Merlinos and the Magnanos.
And you know how many stories goes with that for generation and generation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it doesn't go away.
Lastly, we're going to play Rub with Love Food for Thought Tasty Trivia, brought to you by Rub with Love Spice Rubs. Pamela, do you have exciting questions for us today? Have you made
really
sure that
put
I'm going to lose?
I put some effort into it this week. It's good.
Okay, good. We do have a little surprise taste of the week, though.
I know.
Jim is here. He's on the mic. You might know him from the 4 Dudes and a Tomato. What is that called? What was that called?
4 guys.
4 Guys.
Tomato.
Dudes.
4 Guys and a Tomato. That's something. And Jim, you have brought a copy of Terry's book. I've never seen a copy before in public. I've seen like 8,000 at Terry's house, but I've never seen an actual purchase.
I use them as doorstop.
Did you buy it? Did you purchase it?
I actually purchased.
Wow, I've never seen one of those before. That's fantastic. Chef, you
No, I
must be
keep
so
telling you.
excited.
They're dispersed around the world. That's why you can find them.
Okay. Why are you here today? What did you bring for Chef Terry?
Well, I came to thank him because he had a big influence on the best birthday party that I've ever had.
Uh-huh.
2 days ago, I turned 70.
Holy smokes. You
And-
need CPR?
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah.
And my friends and family decided to throw me a party, and they started by saying, well, let's pick a nice restaurant. And no offense, Tom, but they decided no restaurant in Seattle was good enough for my party. So they created their own pop-up restaurant.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Very good idea for you.
I just gave Terry the menu. He can.
That
he
is
can read it.
incredible. So you're telling me then each one of your guests cook one of those cooks?
No, my daughter-in-law, who used to work for
Sure,
you,
Erin.
Terry, Erin, pulled out her old server's uniform and did a entire dining room in their house, and convinced my son, who became the chef, to dress up as well. So
this is so charming.
I have
Very
a picture
cool.
for you, and there were 12 guests there, and
Wow.
it was a formal dinner served with courses of wine. It was a 7-course dinner, I believe.
I
And-
One for each decade.
Definitely
one for each.
Rover-esque.
And Terry's food was on the menu.
And I'm not even dead and they're doing this.
Yes.
Imagine what's going to happen when I die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a banquet feast like nobody's business.
Right, or when I die, maybe you'll.
Well, yeah, when you die too.
I'm ahead of you.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Okay, so Terry, we got a minute or two.
So
Read
the
off
quick,
some
the
of the
quick
things.
menu: burrata, blood orange, coriander, lavender oil. Goes with a Vouvray Chenin Blanc. Very nice match. Beet and goat cheese tartelette with sweet onion
Yes.
puree.
I love that.
And a pea soup rolled with rolled goat cheese croutons. That sounds good.
You wrote it. It's supposed to sound
with
good.
that, a Gewürztraminer with that from Seigneur de Beaurepaire 2012.
Ooh, someone's got a cellar.
Seared Alaska weather vane scallops with pickled daikon and apple salad with a chili jam. That sounds delicious as well. And then a sorbet with pink grapefruit vermouth. I know that one.
Mhm.
And then Châteauneuf du Pape Les Cailloux 2019 to go with braised pig chicks, celery root, and barberry salad.
Wow.
Oh, wow. And
That
then
pig has definitely got a frown now. If he's got no
Definitely.
cheeks.
No
yeah.
cheeks.
It's got no cheeks. And then to finish, a chocolate marquise with torch meringue, tequila caramel, and spiced almond. And that's with a Chateau d'Yquem 2018.
Oh.
Oh,
Nice and young and
moly.
beautiful. Wow.
How many
Well-
dollars worth of wine was that?
Wow, that's...
It was probably good
Thousands.
$900 wine. I don't
well, you could
know.
round it to
no.
1,000. Jim.
So, and they made their creme fraiche out of your book, and even went so far, instead of honey in the one recipe, in the Jeff went over to his farm on Port Orchard and tapped maple trees and made his own maple syrup to go
What?
with that. This was a special did. I want to.
You want to be 70 again, don't you?
I won't. It'll be 140 before I get
no,
this
no, but you
again.
want to do it again.
Oh, I do want to do it again.
Yeah, stay at
So,
70.
Yeah, I want to nominate them for James Beard Award.
Yes,
Good
absolutely.
idea.
They pulled it off flawless.
I could just give you Terry's if you want.
So, Tom,
Yeah.
that was my taste of the week. How did you come up?
Yeah, I had popcorn.
No, that's fantastic. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
And may the next 70 be as good as the first one, as you said.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
absolutely.
this was literally.
But
the
this
best.
is, if you keep eating like this, you might not make it to 71. So you need to just make that very special.
You've always said, Julia Childs, just you don't do it every night.
Moderation.
Everything in moderation, including
Moderation.
moderation. All right, when we come back, it's crispy croquette time here on the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Thank you, Jim.
Wow.
That's incredible.
At your house?
That is cool.
Isn't it?
That is very cool.
I mean, it was.
Uh-huh.
flawless. Aaron's signature was all over this.
The little candle.
Look at the table.
Did you steal those when you were there, or how'd you get those? You bought them. Come on. Jeff, were you
Don't do it,
missing
don't
some
do it.
Limoges candles?
Say what? You get the candles from Bernardo? Wow, nice. I know. Look at that.
Isn't
It's
that
like,
funny?
look at this setup. It's all rovers. Wow, good job, Aaron. My God.
Whoa,
Memories, you see?
that's some fancy stuff right there.
It must have been good at one time.
We should send that to Kathy.
Oh, that's awesome. You should ask me. I got plenty of chef jackets. Nice. Look at him.
All right, we're already running late, so we have to get going. Sorry.
Yep. No, it's okay. Good job, Jim. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That is incredible.
Aaron, that's above and beyond. So
Good
is
job.
your husband a cook already? He just did it out of his uh-huh.
No restaurant experience at all.
And is he OCD like this all the time? Yeah.
And by the way, Aaron is also OCD.
Oh, well, there you go.
You should say that because you are a bit OCD. You're like me.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Only a perfectionist would undertake it to that level of detail.
that's very cool. I am extremely flattered. Thank you.
Nice.
It's very humbling. Okay. On that note, let's move on.
Well, dry your eyes. Let's
Okay,
move on.
I will.
All right, it's time for Coquettish Coquettes here on the Hot Stove Society Show. We're in the Hot Stove Kitchens. My name is Tom Douglas.
And I'm Terry Roturo, the chef in a hat.
And Chef, that was quite the ode to you on the last
Yes.
segment,
That was
doing the
very-
dinner in your
very
honor. And
sweet
Erin
and-
said she set the table entirely up like a Rover's table.
Yeah, and she did.
And Erin, how long did you wait tables there? 20 years or 20 years ago? She left there 15 years ago.
I know.
Yeah. According looking at the table, she stole a lot of stuff from Rover's.
I guarantee you, she was the top one too. She was definitely a top server. So
All right, crispy croquettes, Chef. I have made croquettes,
me too.
but I have made more country style croquettes.
What's that mean?
Which means that I've taken mashed potatoes and I've put like deviled ham or something like that inside, and or cheese, and I've fried them and I've served them.
Right.
But I feel like you probably make a little fancier. You probably make what Pamela called a coquettish
So what do you call
croquette.
Pam? What do you call a coquettish croquette?
Something that is enticing and light and inviting you to come back for the next bite, not heavy.
Whimsical, yeah, whimsical. See, mine are heavy.
So I wouldn't personally. I don't put anything in my croquette besides
Okay, see, there you go.
potato and seasoning and fresh chives,
So it's just mashed potatoes.
mashed potato.
Yeah.
And then I enrich it with an egg yolk or two, depends how much I have. And
How much egg
and
yolks
I
or how much
usually-
potatoes?
So, let's just say a cup of potato, a cup and a half of potato for one egg yolk,
Mm-hmm.
and mix the whole thing together, and then
No
roll it-
butter, no cheese, no nothing.
nothing like that.
Wow.
No, because when I make mashed potato, it's already 40% butter, 60%.
Well, so you do
potato.
have butter in there.
I
Yeah.
have a lot of butter in there. I don't
Okay.
need to add any more butter. I'm talking. Usually, I don't make fresh mashed potato to make croquette. I make croquette out of leftover mashed potato. That's when I do croquette, and that's what it was invented from.
Oh, a good way to use up the leftover.
Correct. It was
mashed potato.
invented
That-
from that and what's a fried? Why can't I remember this? I did this every single week for my apprenticeship. Pomme dauphine.
Yeah.
Pomme dauphine is the same thing. It was invented from leftover. There's many recipes in France that use leftover mashed potato, and very few of those recipes are created just to make mashed potato. Mashed potato is created to be a mashed potato, and then when you have leftovers, you take that and make other dishes, such as like even when you make parmentier, which is a traditional what you guys call beef casserole or something.
Mm-hmm.
Mashed potato, ground beef, mashed potato,
Like
ground
a
beef,
shepherd's pie kind of
shepherd's
thing.
pie,
Or...
and then breadcrumb on top and baked.
Mm.
That's also created from leftover mashed potato.
So I went to your restaurant many times and I never had mashed potatoes.
Oh, we've had mashed potato almost every day for the day
Okay.
life of Rovers.
because
Really?
you didn't order them.
Really? I guess I
Because
just
you
didn't
didn't
order.
order it,
them.
it came with your dishes.
Well, you're the one who sent the food out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was piped onto the plate.
Hmm.
I love mashed potato. I'm a
Yeah.
obviously. I
Okay,
love
so now we've got mashed potatoes. You said yours are like Robuchons, right? They have about 40% butter.
Right.
And that's a lot of butter.
That is a lot.
But you feel the need to add egg yolks to it
it's
because
it's
it's not quite fatty enough.
no, it's because of what you know very well is when you rewarm mashed potato that has that much butter in it, it wants to separate.
Break. Yeah.
So the egg yolk is a binder in some ways that keeps the fats together once it's all mixed together. And I roll it in breadcrumb, really nicely, but really fine breadcrumb. The finer the breadcrumb, the more you can put onto the mashed potato. And then blonde butter, pardon me, not brown butter, blonde butter, and then give it a nice little roasting in the pan. Enough butter to
So you kind of brown it and turn it and you get
Yeah.
it all brown all the way around.
correct, and then finish it in the oven.
Just enough to
Gently.
heat it through.
Correct.
Right.
And then you have this beautiful crisp.
Don't you think it'd be nice with a little twig of Comté in the middle?
Oh, no. There is nothing wrong. Listen, I'm not poo-pooing down. I'm just
I think you
telling
were.
No.
You said
So-
in my croquette I have nothing.
But yeah, that's true. I have nothing in it except chopped chives.
A lot of butter.
Chopped
okay.
chives too.
All right. Oh, and chopped chives in
Yeah.
the potato.
In the potato.
Okay.
I love chopped chives in as a bite through mashed potato.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good, little gentle bite of onion kind of idea. But you could definitely add very chopped fine ham. You could add other things into the mashed potato, no problem.
Well,
Well,
that's
she's-
why I was intrigued because the article I was reading in Food and Wine had variations and suggested even maybe a sweet potato croquette.
Yeah. I mean, that would totally work.
And the one that I'm going to try next, though, is leek and mushroom. And the accompaniments also captured my attention because they often had some sort of tangy side sauce.
Right. Almost
To
always
dress 'em
creme
up.
fraiche or sour
Yeah,
cream.
so leek and mushroom, make sure you saute them correctly and dry them. As
Because
in,
they're so wet. The
or they're going to be
mushrooms-
so wet, then if you put raw leeks into your mashed potato, there's a big chance. And once the heat gets to the middle, your leeks are going to leak into, and your fryer is going to start going a little bit bunker.
Even more so your mushrooms. Mushrooms are
Oh,
90%
mushrooms,
Yeah,
water,
you would have to do them completely
So you
separately
saute them on the
first.
side, and then you cool them off, and then you put them into your mashed potato, and it's fine.
I like the idea personally of a little surprise when you cut into it rather than
Yeah.
like on a salmon croquette. It's almost always just flaked salmon mixed with the mashed potatoes, and then it's a big croquette. I like the idea more like a dumpling where the croquette becomes the wrapper around a little surprise center.
Right.
Oh,
You know what would be cool is if you had those half dome mats where you could do mashed potato. You oil the mat, you put mashed potato in halfway circle, and you put a Rockwell egg, and then you put mashed potato on top. Then you roll the whole thing up and put it in breadcrumb very gently, and then fry it. Then the middle would be a Rockwell egg. By the time you get it, the quail egg would be cooked.
would be cooked just
Like
enough.
gentle, just enough.
Mm. Yeah, you may make those for us. We would like that.
The other thing you
I'll
can
be
do
here
is
tomorrow.
you
for
don't
the
have
next
to
week.
use breadcrumbs, right?
What are some other options?
Well, sesame seeds would
Yeah.
be an
Yeah.
option to be. They'll stick beautifully. They'll brown up nicely. They're nice and crunchy.
So make sure your oil is not too hot, because sesame seed will instantly. If your oil is too hot, it will instantly brown. So
Isn't that
wanna
what
make
black sesame seeds are?
They're burned sesame
Burnt
seeds.
sesame seeds. The other thing you talked about sauce, coriander cream. There's a product you can buy in the grocery called coriander chutney, and it's really bright and tangy, and it's an easy mix with sour cream. We've used it for years at the Palace Kitchen as the coriander cream for the chicken wings, the spicy chicken wings.
No, I do not know this product.
Yeah, it's just in a jar. It's a nice product, and so yeah, that's just something to think about.
It's a coriander chutney.
Chutney. They call it chutney, and it's just pureed coriander with vinegars and.
You know what else
sugar.
is good? You know that ground nut dipping that Mamnoon has?
Don't.
Yeah, you do. We've had it many times here.
The muhamara.
Yeah, Mahamara.
Muhammara.
You take that and you mix that with a little sour cream, and you put your croquette on top.
Mhm.
Pretty
Yes.
damn good.
Yes, please.
And some chopped cilantro.
Lime yogurt,
good.
salt cod is where you see today. You almost always see salt cod mixed with mashed potatoes
Right.
to become
That
a
is a
croquette.
classic.
Yeah.
And what would you put on that to give you that little bright?
I love romescu sauce. With
I like a
things
nice
like salt
vinaigrette
cod.
with that, like a warm vinaigrette around it. Like you make a patty of mashed potato and salt cod, and then a little breadcrumb, and you bake it. So you have a nice little crispy top. And then you put a warm vinaigrette with maybe red wine vinegar, chopped shallots, bit of salad oil or olive oil. And then you finish that with a little bit of chopped anchovies into the dressing. And then you put that around your
Mm.
patty of
Yes.
salt cod and
I
mashed
prefer
potato.
romescu.
I know that's two,
I like that.
two fantastic options.
Apparently, there's been a waterfall
Waterfall.
of requests for vegetarian entrees.
A waterfall.
Yeah, a landslide, a
It's just to boil the vegetable.
cornucopia of questions about vegetarian entrees to our hippie producer Pamela Hinckley, and we're going to tackle that next on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
A waterfall.
And some of the guests that were here last week said that they want to come back and have a whole show dedicated to vegetarian.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
They did.
Sure.
We're gonna do it.
Well, no problem.
The
Easy.
same
problem.
same guests that are like you that will go first for the lamb chops and then all the vegetable sides.
Balance.
When are we going to make you some lamb chops?
Soon.
I got 2 racks in the freezer.
But you're going to Hawaii tomorrow.
Oh, with pineapple salsa. I see.
Gross.
Exactly.
Welcome back. Apparently, listener requests for vegetarian options are flooding in, and we're going to tackle that right now. I'm Tom Douglas.
And I'm Terry Roturo, the chef in the hat.
There's less farm produce around these days. And for another couple of months,
Yep.
we have our choice of carrots, squash.
Turnip,
I
parsnip.
love how Brussels sprouts are okay to eat all winter, even though they're not growing at all in anyone's garden right now.
I know, isn't that funny
funny
that
how
they
s-
become the
Yeah.
winter green vegetable?
I think it's because they probably storage well, is how
Mhm.
that
Right.
ends up happening. But
But turnip, parsnips, all those root vegetables, celery root,
right,
and also green from winter. The kale and the
mushrooms that are not
Swiss
hothouse
chard.
grown so much as in-house grown,
Right.
things like that. So Pamela, tell us about this listener groundswell about vegetarian entrees. How did this
Well,
happen?
I
What
think
spurred this
people-
on?
We know from our guests in Hot Stove Society and listener comments that people are trying to reduce the amount of meat that they're eating.
We do know this.
We do know this
Okay.
as a fact. Like every party that we have here, there's always vegetarians.
Okay.
100% of the time now.
Yeah.
So we just need to think about ways that vegetables are going to satisfy us for a full meal. So one of my tricks to convince my husband that dinner is complete without an animal product is to make sure that I roast something to a high crispy degree. Particularly mushrooms are so good at that with the red boat, sea salt,
So you're putting animal product on it.
anchovy salt.
Yeah, that's called.
It's not an animal. It's an anchovy.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
called fish sauce. Yeah.
I love that. It's
But
not
that's
an-
okay. I'm not judging. I'm not judging at all.
I like building from a base of roasted squash, perhaps some fried chickpeas, sauteed spinach, maybe a little feta, and then if I have time, some pearl couscous.
Right.
And that satisfies color. It's got some weight to it.
Everything is in there, so you get all the different components that I would be
Well,
looking for.
Yeah, and I think what's important for me as a kind of non-vegetarian, as somebody, I don't look down on it. I just don't think about it so much. I like when vegetable entrees have components to it.
Yeah.
Rather than say getting a big bowl of lentils with turmeric and ginger and maybe a sour cream garnish or something.
That's
like
not
that.
an entree.
Well, it is
That's
for a
an
lot of
appetizer.
people. I understand it is for a lot of people though, and it's just not. That's where I get turned off. What you just talked about, where you could say have a squash soup with a mushroom duxelle, and then you have some components to
Yeah.
it, or make it more interesting and
I
more
think you need that.
palatable to me.
Yeah, you need the variety of texture.
Yeah.
Instead of just a mushy pile of barley.
Mhm.
So this is where the idea of creating some of that food ahead of time. You can do like layered of root vegetable gratin kind of idea in a Pyrex pan and have that staying in the fridge for a week. And during that week, you can use those components different ways. You can use the gratin as a side garnish to something else, like sauteed kales and sauteed mushroom and crispy chickpeas. You can do a kind of like a component of that and then the gratin next to it. So it's not just the gratin every day.
Exactly. It needs those other.
Don't call
textures.
me to your house if you're serving the same gratin for a week. Just please don't invite me.
I would
Not
love
that
to
you
invite
would, I'm
I would
just-
love to impress you on how you're going to use it.
Can we dip into the cauliflower brining? Because the cauliflower steak thing is still very popular
Mhm.
Right.
as a base for building a vegetarian entree. And I've heard different results on whether or not you get any benefit from brining your cauliflower.
I've never brined cauliflower, and I've done a lot of things,
Are you
but I've
talking a
never
wet
brined.
brine or a dry
Wet.
brine? Wet brine.
Yeah, so I would never wet brine something I'm trying to get crisp. Does that make sense?
Well, I hear what you're saying, but people do that with chicken and turkey all the time.
Right. Except they dry it up and the water doesn't stay in it. But the problem with cauliflower is it swallows the water, the liquid. So that's where my problem depends on how long you brine too. Depends on what you brine with. If you do a dry brine, that's different than a wet brine. But a wet brine on cauliflower, if I'm trying to roast them, for some reason, I need to try that because just to satisfy my curiosity.
Yes, and report back.
But you're going to
And I report
dehydrate the
back.
cauliflower when you're roasting it in the oven. I think the brine goes away. So to me, the bigger issue is the saltiness level, because
Right.
when we
That
roast,
too.
the best cauliflower is roasted way past its done point
Sure.
and then taken to a dehydrated kind of crispy finish, right? In high heat.
Yeah.
So that brine's going to dry up.
Sure. I mean, I'm definitely understanding that, but I don't know.
What are
It's-
some other vegetarian entrees? So you mean at Rovers, you always had a 5-course vegetable degustation menu?
and the
Ahead
way
of the curve.
the way then it would really, for me, the way I would always think about it is a progressive idea of richness.
So is that how, like, to answer Pam's question, is that how you would, if you had people over for dinner and you were going to go vegetarian,
Right.
you would course it, not necessarily
Correct.
put them all in the same dish.
Correct.
Pamela loves a rainbow on a plate, but I like it more coarse, so it's not all on top of each other.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would probably do like I used to do at Rovers, which is, you start with a cold, then you go to a soup or some kind of a consommé or whatever, something of that nature. Then you go into more like if you're looking into roasted cauliflower or some kind of a nature of a more robust vegetable, mixed with something else, obviously. And then you finish with, let's say, for example, polenta and crispy mushroom or whatever of that nature, something much more robust and
I love
more
that.
woody.
Right.
So, items like this, and that's the progression I would use for a multi-course meal. If you're trying to do rainbow on a plate, to me, it's a different idea. It's a good idea, but it's a different idea. So, stuff in your refrigerator in terms of the rainbow of the doing raw, it's requiring more pots and pan, and many people get turned off by that. So that's why I was kind of like hinting on, you should have a stew of lentil and you should have a gratin of root vegetable and you have your raw greens on the bottom. And then you take the raw greens and you complete your meals with that, where you do the sauteed kale or sauteed, green of the beets or whatever you want to do in terms of leafy green, and you finish with that and your mushroom. Then you put that together as components. Now it's much easier. You have your lentils, you have your gratin, you have your sauteed greens, and you finish your dish like that. That to me, that's how I would get around like a rainbow plate
Right.
on a nightly basis.
So there's lots of other angles that become more traditional. So for, say, enchiladas,
Right.
we're so used to chicken enchiladas. What do you want, chicken or beef or pork or whatever it is? To replace that with roasted mushrooms, chunks of seared squash, potatoes, mashed potatoes, things like that, and then roll up your enchiladas. I would bet most people would barely miss the meat part of that.
Yeah.
Because
So-
once you do like the chicken and with the salsa verde and all that kind of stuff, it's sometimes hard to taste the chicken itself.
We did that last week at home. We had little tacos with leftover sweet potato roasted, roasted broccoli, currant. Not currant, pomegranate seeds,
Wow.
and what? I had something else in there. I can't remember right now. Oh, a Romanesco. I had a roasted Romanesco, and I sliced some of that. That's what we had for dinner. It was really delicious.
Very
Oh,
satisfying.
we chilled with a little sour cream on top and some cilantro.
So it wasn't vegan, but it was
It
vegetarian.
wasn't vegan. It was vegetarian.
Did you make your own tortilla, chef?
No, but we buy corn tortilla. I'm a big fan of corn tortilla. I'm not a big flour tortilla, if I can.
So there's other things in here, Pamela, that you had suggested, things like falafel loaf, which makes me want to vomit a little
Cringe
bit.
a little.
Yeah.
Did you say vomit? Did you say vomit?
Falafel loaf. I mean, I love falafel, but I like the little crispy fried balls of falafel. But a falafel loaf to me. The other thing you suggested, which I really love, is a brothy mushroom noodle bowl.
I think that would be
And
up
if
your
you're-
alley.
If you're eating pho, and to have like an onion stock with just lots of different mushrooms and fresh
Do-
herbs like cilantro.
Do what I do.
Thai
Every
basil.
mushroom you use in your house, you cut the stem and you put them in the freezer, and you make a wonderful mushroom stock.
Yep. The leek
I have-
tops.
I have
all sorts of things.
3 quarts of mushroom stock in my house right now in the freezer. And
w-
what I
yeah.
do is I freeze them.
What a
in-
wonderful base to start from.
Yeah.
Well, because and it's just extra flavor. And next time I make a chicken stock, I probably will match the two together, only because I'm not vegetarian, so I don't need to worry about that. But I'll mix the two together, and now I have a very intense 6 quarts of beautiful stock.
Yeah,
well,
there's nothing wrong with using all those stems in a chicken stock or
No,
beef stock.
but keep them.
All right, let's jump into black cod when we come back. Is that good for you, chef?
From vegetarian to fish.
Love myself some black cod.
I
on
know
Cairo
you do.
Radio.
I know you're gonna rock this
It's the
segment.
Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Morning. How you doing? Good.
We'll see how he does going from vegetarian to fish, but we'll vote on.
What do you mean? You had fish sauce in your very first vegetarian fish?
And that was hilarious. And then she finished with anchovy. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not vegetarian.
It busted you so fast.
So fast.
Took
Oh.
about 10 seconds. That was hilarious.
Cheater ingredients.
You know. I'm glad you didn't say Dorito though. Anywhere.
Yeah. No grinding up.
I just
Cheetos
don't like
for
when
you.
vegetarians start going Doritos. I'm like, come on, man, use some real food. There's so many items out there. Nothing against Dorito, on the side.
I think you do have something against Doritos.
but I just don't
But
like
you're
them.
lying right
I
now.
just don't like
Nothing
them.
against Doritos. Uh-huh.
Yesterday we had we were entertaining a Costco group that does their quick and easy videos, and we had met with the woman who produces them ahead of time, and she'd given the director Annie and I things that she wanted to accomplish with her team, and using things that Costco sells a lot of, and one of them was blueberries. And so for the Blueberry Council was here a couple of months ago, and they wanted us to do a sweet and savory blueberry recipe. So I found a blueberry meatball, and we had Tom come and make the blueberry meatball.
What was the meat? What was the meat?
Well, luckily there was meat.
Okay, good.
It was a ground pork, blueberry, sweet potato, and kale meatball.
Oh, look at these faces.
I had cereal
And
already.
what was super maddening was that it was actually really tasty. The sweet potato gave it a really nice custardy kind of texture, and it was pretty good, and that really pissed me off.
Were they fried? What were they
No,
rolled
they
in?
were just roasted, and then I pan fried them to give them color because they were too wet to start right off in a pan. Anyway, sadly, they were tasty. God, I had a fit when I came in. It's like, who put this recipe up for me?
Yeah.
Who dare?
I
Who
went
dare?
to Kat. I said, "Don't you ever let this happen again."
All right.
Yes. I wouldn't call them prevalent. I would imagine you can get them right off our coast, and then all the way up through Alaska.
Yeah, they said most of them are in Bering Sea.
Yeah. So, well, it depends on what size you catch them. So, rock cod is very lean, and often we get them small in that 1 to 2 pound range. A black cod, 1 to 2 pound, is very much like a rock cod. But once it gets to that 3 pounds and up, it turns into this oily, delicious monster that is so tasty. So,
As you would say to me, save this for the segment.
okay.
It's also listed as one of the sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the
Compared to rockfish, which is
Pamela's eaten all the rockfish.
most
so-
people don't know about rockfish, but it takes 25 years for rockfish to mature and start reproducing. So
Uh-oh.
Pamela.
if you've been eating rockfish this big, you're basically killing the next generation. Just kidding. The only reason I know this is because I had a son who went to
Marine.
marine biology in college, and when I opened Luke, I was so excited because every day there was going to be a family platter of some kind.
Family of rockfish.
And then on Friday it was going to be I have the beautiful pizza oven. I was like, bake the whole fish. That was going to be the family platter for the fish. First day I did that, the first Friday, Ryan walks in the kitchen and he's like, Mac, look at this, man, beautiful rockfish. And he's like, yeah. He said, Papa, you know that it takes 25 years for a rock. I'm like, kill the buzz.
Well,
right
just
up.
tell him that one was
First day,
26
kill
years
the buzz,
old.
never did it again.
Oh.
But, you know, it was a sad news.
Super
'Cause
sad.
I couldn't come up with a better idea than the rockfish baked in the oven. Oh, that was so beautiful.
Okay.
Anyway, side note.
Thank you for sharing, Chef.
No one.
Second time today I've seen you cry.
It's a tough morning.
It's a rough morning.
What was it? Fish salt on what?
On vegetable.
Welcome back to the Hot Stove Society Show. Yahoo! It's commentary in the kitchen. Your chapeau is looking dashing today.
Thank you.
Yes, you are.
Just like the fish sauce on the veggies.
Exactly. That's our favorite Pam moment right there of the day. We always have one, and her vegetable entree with fish sauce is another. Black cod. You have an interest in black cod. You know,
I
it's one of
sure
my
do.
favorites. I put it on the menu way back when at Cafe Sport. The miso marinated black cod.
That's what got me started. that
Really? Way back
recipe.
then?
Yeah.
Wow, isn't that funny? You know, when I first put that on the menu at Cafe Sport, I had it. Ite, the chef at Mikado down at 5th and Jackson, had made it for my birthday. And that's the first time I had the miso or kasazuke black cod. And God,
Fell in love.
fell in love with it. And
Many
then,
chefs have taken it since then.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Harry down at Mutual Fish made huge batches of it, but always made it with very large black cods. And so a lot of times when you go to the grocery store, you can get black cod, but it's these tiny little fillets, and it's just not black cod.
Right.
I mean, quite literally it is, but it's much better fish when it gets to be that 3 pounds and up.
Mm.
It's much fattier and more luscious. And you almost always want to cook it skin on because that skin caramelizes so beautifully in the pan. You've probably done that a million times.
Yeah, yeah.
So black cod is or sable fish. You'll find it often around the world smoked. You know, if you look at all the Jewish delis in Manhattan, it's just full of smoked sable fish because it's so moist and oily. So,
It's a great baking fish. I mean, especially for people who are not used to cook fish at home and want to try on fish. I think it's a great try out fish because anything, I mean, you put it in the oven, 10 minutes later, you get this gorgeous piece of fish.
and it's kind of hard to
Bake-
overcook, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's oily enough that it can resist to a lot of forgiveness. It will go through a lot of mistake. You know, if you overcook your fish in a cod, it still be okay. So that's what's so
Very forgiving.
yeah, and it's very good for a beginner. You know, somebody who wants to learn to cook fish in their home. First of all, it doesn't smell. Second of all, you bake it, and you can put fresh herb on top. You know, things like this, and you know, you can start very slowly and then go from that, and then you can learn to cook it in the pan. In the pan, you have to be a little bit cautious because there will be a fish that's kind of want to fall apart a little bit. So, but you know, these are great fish to use for first step into that direction. You know?
My local fish market, Fresh Fish, had just some beautiful fillets this week, fresh, and I broiled it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
perfect.
was super easy.
Yeah.
Both sides, but can we talk about the skin for a minute because it's beautiful, the contrast of that black skin and the luscious white. But do people eat it? The skin?
Of course. You
Yes.
just got to make sure that you scale it.
Yeah.
That's really typical when you want to eat the skin. And then if you're going to eat the skin on a black cod, Chef, I think we would both agree that you want to put a little oil in the bottom of your pan and put skin side down to start and get a nice hard sear and render the skin almost to a crackling. Then flip it over and finish it off.
So
you're not going to
in-
get much but a soggy skin if you just
Right.
pop it under until it's
in,
cooked.
in a restaurant situation, especially in the older days, we had those oval metal platter that we would use.
A sizzle plate.
Yeah, sizzle plate. So you just put a little bit of oil on the bottom. You put your cod, but before that, you put your plate under the broiler for quite some time. So the
Good
plate is
idea.
super hot. So you take that and you put your cod or your fish skin down on that platter. So now the skin is getting crisp while you put it under the broiler and the top is getting cooked as well. And that's
Love
how
it.
you get a piece of fish to be
Well, I
crispy.
flipped mine over under the broiler
That's a bit different, yeah.
so I could try to get some crispness, and it separated really beautifully.
Right.
You know, a lot
What
of
do you
times
mean separated?
came off the fillet so that I could have the skin piece separate.
Oh, I see. So you probably didn't eat the skin if I know
didn't.
you. Yeah, exactly.
But
But there's nothing wrong with that either. But you could have taken that skin off and pan fried it to get it crisp, and then served it as a garnish on top of your
keep
fillet.
it on the
too.
salamander.
and I also want to talk about the bones.
Yes.
Please.
Well, it's not like salmon. You can try and ping bone a black cod, but they are hard to get out.
Exactly.
So typically, what you do when you fillet it, it's it's like rock cod. It's in the round, and you've just got to sacrifice that little belly piece, and then just go with the main part of the fillet. When I say sacrifice, you don't throw it away, or you just either
it's
make
just not as
you
beautiful.
serve it as a separate piece to go along with the loin part of the fish, or you put those in depending on how much you're working with. Like if I had a group of 10 or 12 coming over for dinner, I'd have enough to smoke my black cod bellies, and then you just have to cut the bones out. You can't really pull them out with tweezers. Yeah.
So
Like
you
you
cut
probably
that-
tried to do, right? Like with a salmon
You cut
tweezer.
that piece off, those pieces off, and you keep it in the freezer. And next time you have a little time, you make a little fish stock,
or fish soup, or
fish soup, or whatever you want to do. But the other way you can do it is if you cook the cod all the way, you can then pull the bones out.
Right.
It will break a little bit the meat. It won't stay compact. But what do you care? It's easy to pull out when it's cooked. Once it's
What
cooked,
do you care?
the bones will come out.
She wants
Well,
a pretty piece of fish.
I
Is what she
do,
cares.
I do, but I couldn't navigate the bones
Yeah.
when it was raw.
Yeah, it's another
And then
thing
it-
is when you work with fish, just like meat, big pieces of meat, is to learn the physiology of the actual fish, where the bones are, and so on and so forth. It's important to know that, so it's easier when you want to pluck them. You're not looking at the tail, you're looking at the head, towards the head. That's where
and
the bones
it's got enough of a specific flavor that I'm wondering if you recommend anything other than a butter lemon.
Well, the
or-
classic, what I mentioned earlier, was Kasazuke black
Yeah.
cod,
Mhm.
right? So that's got a marinade of the lees from sake tanks. So sake is brewed like beer, right? And the rice powder or bits come down to the bottom of the tank, and that becomes the lees, Lees. And that is mixed with miso and brown sugar and mirin and whatever else. That's probably about it, but whatever else you want. And it's got the brown lees before it's been cleaned. You can find it two different ways in the grocery. It's kind of brown, and that hasn't been what's the word I want? It's still got a fermentation yeast and stuff like that in the mix, whereas the other stuff has been kind of cleaned up. The white chalky lees has been cleaned up, and so it's just different flavors. I like before they clean it up, kind of the fermenting.
more intense.
Yeah, more intense.
Yeasty
Exactly. And
character.
so then you
Mhm.
put the fish in that, and you can actually a lot of people, especially Japanese, freeze the black cod at that point, because when you pull it out of the freezer and slack it out, when you slack fish, right, freezing expands the cell structure. When you slack it out or when you thaw it, the moisture
Expands
comes
back.
out of the fish a little bit, and which intensifies in black cod. Some fish that makes it dry. In black cod, it intensifies the oils. You've got that much oil left to water ratio, and that's what makes it so darn luscious.
Yeah.
Right. So darn
Melts.
good.
Melts on sight.
Yeah. So tasty.
Luscious is why we
flakiness-
love it.
The flakiness of that meat is beautiful.
But when you're cooking with that kasazuke, it's got sugar in it. What
Right.
happens when you have sugar in that?
caramelized,
It caramelizes, right? And that's what it's
That's
become
when-
one of the most popular dishes ever, right? So
That's when
miso
you're
cod.
happy when
Yes,
you get
exactly.
caramelization.
I love me some caramelization. All right, hour 2, we're on the way. I think we are.
We are.
Yes.
We are. Hour 2, we're going to welcome Ben Campbell in, talk about his new, his old and his new in his life bread projects here in Seattle. On Cairo Radio, we are the Hot Stove Society Show coming to you from 4th of Virginia, downtown Seattle, the Hotel Andra. Come see us sometime. Buy a ticket. It's Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
Yay. Welcome, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Everybody, Ben.
Ben's bread.
Is that okay?
It actually might be right for the mic, the way the mic is set.
Okay.
So when I worked at Lark, we used to portion the fillets of black cod, cook them, and then pinbone them to order
Yeah.
before they went on the plates, which was, as a young cook, sort of terrible.
Yes. And a pain.
But it's like you break it, you got to make a new one.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of scary, but
Watch out, there's some water.
oh, that's fine.
Ready for the next adventure? How are you gonna do this?
So my daughter or my niece-in-law works with you.
Works with me.
I believe
Oh,
so.
Linnea.
Linnea
Yeah.
Scott.
I just found out recently that she was your niece-in-law.
Yeah.
Like this week, I think. But yeah, Linnea is great.
She's a little perfectionist, that one.
She really is. Yeah. Her stuff's so good though. It's
She and
amazing.
Aaron, she would get along beautifully.
Oh, absolutely.
We assume our producer is going to rejoin us at some moment.
It's great.
We lost Terry though.
I guess we did. I just noticed that.
Hey, Pam, you're back.
The owners of our company right there.
I want to introduce Sean. You'd be good. Did you say hi, Ben? Okay.
Doing okay, Chef?
All right,
Doing
Nico.
fine. Much better now.
Pam, you ready for hour number 2?
Let's do it.
When do you want
Boy.
me to start the eggs?
When after Ben.
Okay.
It only takes 5 minutes.
Okay.
Live action.
Live action.
Live action.
You making an egg?
We're making we chef.
Oh, we.
We. As in WE chef.
What are we making?
Cream fried
Oh, I didn't read
eggs.
that yet.
Cream fried.
Isn't that weird? I'd never heard of cream fried.
It just breaks in the pan. You know, you take it
I was
to
gonna say,
a
like you
round.
use it to steam it or something, or
No, it's essentially you just turn the heat up
Yeah.
high and break the cream, which then turns into butter and
Oh, that
whey, and
sounds
then
great.
it browns.
dang.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
It's a lovely idea.
Are you being facetious?
No.
Oh.
Would I ever?
Yeah. All right, let's party.
Welcome back to the Hot Stove Society Show. We're having a blast here. It's hour number 2. Chef, are you up for this?
I am definitely up for this.
Okay, hour number 2, and we're gonna we have food for thought, tasty trivia to wrap up this hour. We're gonna talk a little bit about cooking or cream poaching / frying artichokes and eggs.
Yep. But
It's
first,
a hard concept to wrap your head around, but
I know.
technically, from a chef's perspective, once you understand what they're doing, it's very simple.
okay. But I
So we're
think
gonna-
it'd be even more delicious if we had some of Ben's bread with it.
You
Yeah.
think so? Well, then let's start with Ben for
Let's
this
start
beginning
with
of this
Ben.
hour. All we know is it's Ben's bread. We don't even know Ben's last name.
Campbell.
Ben Campbell, how
It's
are
bread.
you, sir?
It's Ben's bread, actually.
There. There you go. It's like Dave's seed bread, right? So this is the new thing. It's just putting
Exactly. Yeah. His was killer bread.
his was killer bread, and he's in
Yeah.
prison, right? So did you spend any time in
Think
prison?
so.
What's your criteria for being a baker?
Prison, usually. Yeah, that's where we all learn it.
That's where we
That's
all
where they
start.
meet.
You are working with my niece-in-law right now, and you're tell us a little bit about how you got started in bread, and then maybe in our second segment we can talk a little bit more about sourdough. There's
Sure,
some
yeah.
frustration going out there with the breads right now because everyone during COVID started making bread, but not everyone has been successful. And they've bought all the tools,
Yes.
but
yeah.
there's magic that has to happen somewhere around those tools. So I want to hear about that in the second segment.
Okay.
First segment, tell us about you and your history. And
Yeah, so I was a line cook working in restaurants in town, and I got to Lark up before in their original location,
Uh-huh.
and
up on 12th, right?
up on 12th, yeah. And right when I started working there, we had this meeting about taking ownership of a bunch of different things that we bought and start making them in house, like bread or cheese or charcuterie. I think is another one. And so a couple of the people in the kitchen, it was a pretty small staff, but I basically was like, I would really love to try to figure out bread. I hadn't done it professionally. I had kind of inquired in culinary school and not really gotten anywhere. There wasn't really like a lot in the program I was doing. And so I just started reading books, and I baked a loaf, brought it in for John, my boss, and he was like, "Great, can you do 4 a night?" And I went home and thought I was gonna cry because I was like, I have no idea how I'm gonna make. Like I did this once, you know.
Right.
But yeah, my other boss, Lauren, who's at Cafe Juanita now, helped me kind of figure out a production schedule, and it was pretty fun. Like everyone in the kitchen got to do it. Like we all learned how to make the bread and everything. It was pretty great. And then once we moved to the new location, I switched to mornings, stopped working the line at night, and kind of built out or helped build out like a pastry and bread program. And we started making all the breads in house, like burger buns, everything. So
That's ambitious.
yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot to do.
Right.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that how much commitment that is. If you're gonna make all your bread in a restaurant, it's a very, very serious commitment because bread is basically every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're in a restaurant that's open 6 days a week or 5 days a week. You still have to be here to make the bread the day before because bread takes a lot of prep.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
ambitious program and it's very,
For sure. And most of the stuff I've been doing is, if not, or it's mostly sourdough, and even the stuff that's not, I still tend to do over a couple days. And so, yeah, I spend a lot of Christmases in the restaurants I work in, or now in my own bakery environment, like feeding starters,
Mhm.
mixing and shaping loaves. Thanksgiving, same thing. So
Let's go back to that time in the beginning when
yeah, sure.
you just said, I think I'd like to own bread at this restaurant.
Yeah.
If you're looking for someone to own something, what was the most influential book? You said you went home and read books, and was there
Yeah,
one
sure.
book that really was like, that resonated with you?
Yeah, I think early on, that was kind of when I feel like that was, I think, only the first tartine book. Well, the tartine bread book was out. Sorry. There was also the tartine cookbook too, but that tartine bread book, like it's 40 pages before there's even a recipe. And it was just a story. And I think I just read the story and it just spoke to me in a way I was, pretty surprised by. I thought I kind of wanted to go to the chef route, and, I was working towards that. And it just sort of changed that book. And there was a few other ones. There's like Jeffrey Hommelman's bread book is really outstanding. Even just the artwork. I love the hand drawings in that book. And then there's this older cookbook. It's not even a bread book, but it's the New Orleans cookbook that I have family down in Baton Rouge, and they gave me the book a long time ago. And there's a po' boy roll recipe. Just kind of always, I don't know. I was like, wait, you can make that? And
Yeah.
then do all this too?
Now
Like,
there's
wow.
something that would interest me
Yeah.
more than a loaf of bread. Is that kind of roll? Because I
Yeah.
come from the Philadelphia cheesesteak kind of roll
Oh,
area,
yeah, totally.
and they're not all that different than the poor boy roll, but it's something that you just can't find out here very
Totally.
yeah.
And people don't, I don't know if there's not enough demand for it, or if people just don't like take the time to figure out the nuances between them. But
Yeah.
they're similar doughs, and you just kind of treat them a little differently, and you get really wildly different results. It's pretty cool.
All right, one more thing before we get on to the next segment, which is, if you could go back now and pinpoint, you said you read that book and all of a sudden you realized that maybe you were a baker and not a chef, which is not really kind of what you said, but a route
right.
in the kitchen,
Yes.
the bakery route instead of the chefy route,
Yeah.
or the savory chef. What's the difference? Can you pinpoint like the mental difference between going down those paths?
I mean, it's funny because I think they're similar in a lot of ways. I think like it's a crazy difference to just like in baking, you're just doing prep for 12 straight hours.
Mhm.
That feels a lot different than when I was working the line or cooking. Like you kind of have like these flows to your day. You've got like, you go in the morning, like you get your coffee, you start like prepping out all this stuff, planning things for the day. And then you have service, which is like this real fast pace, exciting, 5 hours or however long, depending
Mhm.
on the restaurant. And then you kind of have that wind down at the end of the night. You're making lists, you're like cleaning, doing all this stuff. Baking, it just kind of like, it just goes all day.
Right.
Like you're just doing the same thing over and over again. So you really have to be the kind of person who's okay with like doing the same motion 100 to 1,000 times, which is similar to cooking, but not exactly the
Well,
same.
actually,
Right.
I think that's the difference between that and cooking is the reason people go into cooking is because they have a little bit of ADD already in them, and they go into this multiple, never-ending story of like mixing and cooking and cutting and prepping and many different
Fast
angles.
service. Yeah.
Yeah.
Many different angles to the day, as opposed to a very structured day where you constantly you roll your bread for 3 hours, the same exact movement.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a very much of a cook mentality or philosophy.
No. Yeah. I totally agree.
All right. When we come back, let's talk sourdough. There's so much angst about sourdough out there. And it's one of my favorite pieces of toast to have in the morning is a nice piece of
Who doesn't
sourdough.
like sourdough?
Exactly. On Cairo Radio, it's Ben Campbell and the Tom Douglas and Cherry Roach in the kitchen, 97.3 FM.
I mean, there's so much to talk about with him, but will you make sure that you get to his new project?
Yes.
And
We'll start with that so we don't forget.
okay.
Yeah.
And he also has been a champion of local flowers, which
In this room, I
There's
believe.
You're
yeah,
right here.
exactly. There's only so much we can get in. though.
I know, but
Yeah.
he did a spectacular workshop here with Karen Springs, and we love that mill. So,
Yeah, they're great.
but you have an open dance card because I saw on your website that you use other people's flowers as well.
Yeah, I use a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I would say they're the majority.
Okay. Thank you.
You want to just do this right
No.
now?
I want you to do it.
And we're back. Ben Campbell is here of Ben's Breads. And Ben's Breads has been a pop-up now for how long?
7.5 years.
7.5 years as a pop-up. And I understand you're pulling the trigger on a brick and mortar.
We have, yeah. We're almost done building out a space in Finney Ridge up on Greenwood and 70th. The building has been kind of slow to get going, but we're nearing the finish line, I think.
Mhm.
Probably be spring. We'll be able to open alongside a few other businesses. So
In case you missed the last segment, Ben Campbell started his bread career at Lark Restaurant, started baking for the restaurant. You've been doing your own thing. My niece-in-law works with you.
yeah,
Who was quite the little perfectionist when it comes to baking. So
yeah, her stuff's great.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to the pastry stuff, a lot of times we just kind of step aside and let her do her thing,
the last time we saw you in this room, you were with Karen Springs Flowers. So
Yeah.
are you repping them or do you just like them?
I just like them. I would do it for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been
Ben,
using this stuff
Ben,
since they first
don't
opened.
say that.
Good point. Sorry, I would do that for lots
We're
of
old
money,
enough
yeah.
to tell you don't do that.
But yeah, I've been using them since they opened. We
Uh-huh.
actually, my wife and my son, who was 6 months old at the time, went and visited the mill right before they opened, and so they made my bald 6-month-old son wear a protective hairnet,
Uh-huh.
which I have a picture of. It's pretty cute.
That's
So.
nice. All right, let's tackle sourdough. So many people started to become bread bakers during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and they bought all the tools. They have the razor knives, they have the baskets, they've got the right flours, and you are an expert at sourdough. So
I make sourdough every day. I
Yeah.
don't know how expert I
That
am,
makes
but
you an
I'm working
expert
on
in
it.
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Has it ever happened and it doesn't work?
What was that?
Has it ever happened and it doesn't rise, doesn't work?
Oh yeah,
Oh, good.
Uh-oh.
yeah.
That's what we want to hear
It
about.
happens to everybody.
Yeah, of
It
course.
just doesn't happen to me very much, but
Right.
it does happen. Yeah.
So when that happens, is your starter dead? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, a lot of times I'd say like people always look at problems. They'll be like, "Oh, I didn't let the bread rise long enough. I didn't do this. I didn't do that," and it's almost always the starter.
Okay.
And it's like whether you've reached you're trying to like hit this small window of peak activity where then you're putting it in the dough when it's at that stage. you
Uh-huh.
know? And if you kind of miss that mark, it causes a lot of variations in your final product.
I see.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. What you just said, I think, is huge.
So re-explain that clearly to listeners.
Yeah.
So
I
right
mean,
now, let's just put a picture on it. We've got the jar of starter in the refrigerator, right? You feed it,
Mhm.
and then
Yep.
how long after you feed it is its peak activity?
well, that's the thing that's tricky about it. It can always change. If your flour can manipulate that amount of time, the temperature in the room can manipulate that time, how hot of water you used, and how regularly you feed your starter. Like for example, mine, if I leave it at room temp during the colder months, I can feed it probably 2 times a day. During the summer, it's more like 3. But it's just because it's really active and it gets used a lot. You know, if you put it in the fridge, it's kind of like makes it more dormant and slows things down. So, you know, if you're pulling it out of the fridge, you feed it once, it might take a while to get there that first time. But if you leave it at room temp maybe for a day or 2 or give it a couple feedings, it'll really speed up. So, you know, it can be
And then
anywhere
that
from
in
like,
turn makes your bread lighter, airier, or what?
yeah, it
what
can.
Does, yeah,
it can for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think generally like, I think about starters as doing 2 things. One is it leavens the bread really well, meaning it makes it really nice and light and airy. And it also contributes flavor because whatever the flavor, however much flavor you're developing in your starter will end up being in the final product too.
Right.
That's
Like
how
the
you
more
get that
sour you let your
gorgeous
starter
sourdough.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more sour you let your starter get, the more sour your bread will end up. And the same thing the other way around.
And the sourer it is, the better it is.
I kind of think so. I do
Huh?
like it pretty
Yeah.
sour.
I mean, that's the idea. The idea is you're getting a sourdough because you want sour.
Yeah, you know, a lot of bakers they try to leave their starter in a like less. They try to feed it more often or like earlier in the process, so it's not as sour, and that kind of ends up yielding this really nice, mild, light, fluffy loaf. And I kind of like to let mine kind of push it a little bit, and you can still get light and fluffy if you do everything correctly, but you get like a ton of flavor, especially with the local grains and everything too. So.
All right, so now you've got it all mixed. It's ready to go. Are you one to let it sit in the fridge for a day to help develop a crust, or what is your next process?
Yeah, it depends on the bread. There's some like the smaller sandwich breads, like individual pieces. I like to kind of do that same day actually with sourdough only. Just by kind of doing that final shape and letting it just kind of do that final proof. It only takes an hour or so. You've gotten it most of the way there.
Mm-hmm.
And then especially stuff that like would be wood fired or things like that. Even pizza doughs work great like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I'm doing a big sourdough hearth loaf or something that I want really crusty, I like to do where I do the final shape and I put it in the fridge overnight. That kind of develops this almost like pellicle, little outside skin on it that further develops your crust. And you just get this really nice, dark, burnished, you know, flaky
So
crust.
when you take it out, how long do you leave it out before you go in the oven?
I usually time everything else I do so that I can just go straight away.
From the fridge to the oven?
right in the fridge to the oven, yeah.
Cool.
Makes it easier to score. The breads I make are, like those style breads have a lot of water in them, so they're really sticky, more than I think most people do. And so it helps to keep it nice and cold to score it more cleanly.
And you have to score it to release the steam, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it'll burst on its own if you don't, so it kind of depends on what you like, but I like both. But yeah, I usually do it just, it's decorative, but it also kind of like helps develop a better inside structure.
I love my crust, especially the bottom crust of a loaf to just be thick and chewy. Is there a way to get there? That a special way to get there, or is that just part of what type of dough that you're making?
It depends partly on the kind of dough and how long it takes to bake. Those like sourdough breads, like in the tartine book and things like that, they always tell you to bake them in cast iron pans at home, and if you do it like that at home, it always gets that crust. Like, I feel like that works really well.
Hot cast iron pan.
Yeah, real hot cast iron pan, like kind of dangerous hot.
That's how we make them all at the Dahlia Bakery. We got rid of our huge bread oven.
Yeah.
And now we have 20 cast irons with lids, 20 kind of Dutch ovens.
Did you know I almost got that bread oven?
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, I was almost did it, but I just like there were like too many things. It was like getting it to a storage facility, picking it up in the middle of the night. It just kind of didn't end up working out.
Yeah.
But I've gone and seen it since now it's in its new home.
It's in its new home up in Mount Vernon, right?
Yeah. And she's making beautiful bread up there.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous oven, but a typical commercial bread oven like we had is about 9 feet wide, about 9 feet tall, and then it's got a 9-foot loader. So at the end of the day, it's 18 feet long with the loader. And
you need a special place.
Oh my God!
Yeah, the logistics of trying to find someone who could come in like the middle of the night with a big truck and a forklift. It was like there were like 2 people in the Western Washington that could do that. It just didn't really work out.
So we're talking to Ben Campbell, future home of your brick and mortar bakery is 70th and Greenwood.
Yep.
And so when I go to the stores now, like a Met Market, and look for Karen Springs bread, there's about 10 different varieties there. What would you tell people to start with?
For like
Of
the
flour?
flour.
Of flour, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're wanting to make really good bread, like Karen Springs they actually have a flour blend on there that just says bread flour.
Just plain.
And that's a really great place to start. Honestly, if you just want to make really good fresh bread at home, like you don't have to get every single thing. Like just, if you're already buying flour you like, or it's at the price point you like, just try to make it.
Like
I
AP
think-
flour, you're saying?
Yeah, totally. I think you'll notice once you start making it that as you start using the better flour or the local fresher milled flours, you'll taste the difference. It definitely is better, but
Mhm.
just make fresh bread, and fresh bread's great.
But if you're practicing, that might be a good way to practice because it's
Yeah.
about half the price of the
Totally.
Karen Springs flour. Yeah. If that's an issue for you.
And besides sourdough, what else are you going to make at your brick and mortar?
Well, I think we're gonna make a bunch of those hoagies you were talking about.
Oh, good.
We're actually doing a sandwich pop-up at Cloudburst Brewing for their 7th anniversary this Friday, which I don't know if that's
This week?
Yeah, this week.
That's right down the street from
Yeah.
Seatown.
That was
Yeah.
that was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. That's right. So yesterday I did that. But yeah, so we're gonna make a bunch of those. We do sourdough English muffins. Those will be every morning. We're starting to build out a pastry program right now. They'll be ready, I think, when we open, at least a bunch of it. And then we'll have food and coffee and all sorts of stuff.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I want when you get a time to come back to do a whole segment on English muffins.
Let me know.
They're a funny.
Beast of their own.
Well, they are beasts of their own, but people have funny ideas about them. They have specific ideas about what an English muffin should be.
Yeah, totally.
Somewhere between a crumpet and a hard roll, I guess. Or
Yeah, I was wondering like how English the style that we're all accustomed to actually is. Like,
Yeah.
is it based off a crumpet? I don't really.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like it, but
all right. Thank you to Ben Campbell for joining us today.
Yeah,
Learning a
keep
little
on
bit
making
more.
those breads.
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Super fun. When we come back, it's time to make some eggs and artichokes.
Great.
You brought this in here because we're going to poach our eggs in cream and then break it and brown it.
Woo.
On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Any questions for Ben before we let him go? Back to his red lab.
Yeah, go make stuff.
So,
If you forget to cover it, when I was working at Lark and I first got it set up, I got it set up in time to go on my honeymoon. And then I got back and found out the first day I was gone that they had left it open the night before and a bunch of bugs had made a home in it. So that's a real good way to do that. They're pretty resilient otherwise. Like if you forget to feed it and leave it at room temperature for a long time, like they'll look pretty gross. But if you just kind of scoop out a little bit and make a new one, it usually goes away. Even like mold inside, sometimes you'll see that. And it's usually just like a cap you can peel off the top. And you just start a new one in a new container and it won't be moldy the next day. It's totally fine. That mold is usually from like your hands not being washed or something. It's not usually the start. Yeah. It could be.
No,
It
it's
also
you.
could
It's
be that
100% you.
It could be you, yeah. I mean, really, a lot of times, like you'll go back and check it the next day, but it's risen because of the temperature in your house or temperature of your flour or whatever. It might have already risen and fallen back down by the time you checked it. So it's something. It's kind of useful. Those like I don't know if people still use those, like those GoPro cameras or like. I always never did that, but I always wanted to like use a Sharpie and actually mark off where it got to at different times. But I should do that maybe professionally,
Might
Check it out.
might happen.
Yeah, one of these days.
Put it in front of your doorbell.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah. Then I don't even have to buy the camera.
I know.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Are you gonna make
Really
bread
appreciate it.
today?
I was making the truffles this morning so I could get here. And then I think we already baked the bread, but we're starting to get stuff ready for the sandwich thing. So
Yeah.
like greens washing, back to my cook roots,
Yeah. So at this Cloudburst or the one in?
Yeah, the one
Ballard?
just right down here.
Okay.
So
We
we'll
got to
be
go
there-
get those rolls on Friday.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
you
be like
won't be
4 to
here.
8 on Friday, and then
You
we'll
do-
be
you
around.
go-
We're
you
making
go
stuff.
for
Okay.
Cool.
All right, Ben. Nice
Yeah,
to see you.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Garlic, you get everything ready?
Yep.
Cheese? So basically we're doing a cream and artichoke.
Yeah.
No.
Have you done this before?
No. know. It sounds crazy. That's why I wanted to see it happen. Even though it's a radio show.
All right, Pam, read off the recipe. Turn the
there's
fire on.
3 garlic cloves, artichokes, salt, 1/4 cup heavy cream, grated parm, and 2 large eggs. Drain the artichokes, pat them dry to wick away the moisture, and then firmly smash and peel the 3 large garlic cloves. And then we're going to pour the heavy cream into the 10-inch nonstick skillet.
What is Napoleon?
They're Merlinos, the arch enemy.
You have to mention that on the game.
So this was something I had never heard of cream.
A lot of garlic for 2 eggs.
So Tom says, oh yeah, just like using butter, cream frying. And so last week we had the Napoleon guy, and he was talking about artichokes, and I left artichokes out of my rotation. I used to eat them all the time, but now I was thinking about them all week, and then I saw this crazy recipe for cream frying.
Okay.
Molly Bass, she used to be with
Pour the cream into the skillet. Put the artichokes in. Leave space for 2 eggs to go in. 1/4 cup.
Look at those
10-inch
two
pan. Ranch your artichokes.
So cute.
Create 2 spaces. Hurry up, chef.
Don't put the fire on yet.
It's already on.
That wasn't the recipe. You
Yes, it is. No, it is.
It wasn't the recipe.
You start with the cream.
Chefs, they always do that.
Medium high, cooked undisturbed.
Yeah, after
Okay,
you
that's
cook-
enough. I need space for my eggs.
Yeah, but we're gonna make this.
You can come look at this what's happening.
One broken,
They're 2 broken.
2 broken, and the next
But they're
one-
broken in the picture of the.
No.
Okay.
But Tom talked like you knew what cream frying was. So.
Seasoning.
Well, I'm just telling you that I know what happens to cream when it reduces all the way. No, I'm not.
Medium.
Medium high, it says.
Yeah, you will.
You were on food high.
I'm gonna do this more often. How we cook together. It's pretty interesting.
Seasoning. Salt,
4 to
pepper.
5 minutes. 4 to 5 minutes.
Tiny-
Can we have some salt and pepper for this?
I think we should put a little bit of spice rub instead of salt and pepper.
What? Veggie wrap?
I'm going to turn up the heat the way it's supposed to be.
Medium. That's high.
It doesn't say medium. It says
You told me
medium
it was
high.
medium.
Medium high.
Oh, medium high. What's that mean?
Right here, medium high. Means it's higher than medium. Okay, I'm going to go get spice rub.
This is going too fast.
No, it's not.
I'm telling you, man, you're breaking the cream.
Use pizza spice.
Jeez. Why don't you listen to a chef for Christ's sake?
When does it say to put the cheese on?
Probably towards the end. Would be my guess.
Do this part.
Forget to do this part.
The garlic powder.
Oh,
Put the garlic.
goes first.
No, it says sprinkle the garlic over.
Where do we put the cheese in there?
Hold on. Pepper. Over high heat, cook undisturbed, only skillet around the burner occasionally to ensure equal bites. I just did that.
Does it
Cream
mention-
has evaporated. Turn to brown, get the butter bits at the edges. Okay. No.
Taking some of the butter. Should be close enough.
Because the picture, doesn't show any cheese on the egg.
Oh, wow. Really?
I have it right here. Let me just show you, Chef, because if you did your show homework,
I did, but I never, that wasn't on.
it's right there. Yes, it was. Oh, so they're putting the cheese on after. Okay. stuff, and then we can get going. Yeah, just okay. How many minutes? 3.5 minutes.
1.5 more minutes.
Are we gonna see? Does it look like brown butter now?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's gonna be brown butter by the time we get there for sure. Tom's been cooking high. Not that he's high, but
Terry hasn't been in the kitchen for a while. He doesn't know what.
moderation.
This is what we're going for here.
Are you gonna flip it?
No.
You want to, though.
I was curious how much it's going to stick. No, the whites all have to be cooked apparently. So you had turned it down so low that it wasn't cooking. Okay, let's do this while we're talking.
You'll be ready in about
We use some pizza spice on there.
1 minute.
Oh, it must be the pizza spice.
Okay, it's the Hot Stove Kitchen. Chef Thierry Rotero and I are bickering. I would say we're bickering over what medium is and medium high is and what high is. We're bickering over the height of our flame.
I'm just looking at the pan, that's all.
Okay, so Pam, tell us about this dish that you were having us cook.
Last week we talked about artichokes with Napoleon food owner Tony Magnano. So I want to eat artichokes again, canned artichokes. And oh, good sound effect. And when I was doing my search, this crazy recipe came up from Molly Baz. I'm one of the subscribers to her site.
Right.
She's got a wonderful kind of crazy modern recipe site and club. She used to be with Bon Appetit, and then now she's a cookbook author and blogger, blah, 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 blah. And so she had this recipe for cream frying eggs and artichokes together.
Mm-hmm.
And that blew my mind. I never heard of cream frying.
Uh-huh.
And you didn't seem surprised about the technique. And so I asked you to cook it, and you guys are adorable watching you try to conquer this cream frying. Thank you for the sound effect.
So for two professional cooks, the only argument we had is really
Medium,
what is
high.
medium and what is high, and how do you get in between the two? So that's the only thing that we were
Okay.
bickering about.
Okay.
I think mine would have been a little bit longer cooking.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, so it would have been.
But the
So
results
it would have
are-
ended up blonde instead of brown the way it's
No.
supposed to be.
Yes.
So the recipe
maybe.
starts with the cream
Right.
in the pan.
Yes.
And then
Are you trying to get us back to the recipe?
Yeah.
Okay, so we took the artichokes and we dried them, right? We
Yeah.
put them on
How they
paper
dry?
towels. It says to get all the oil and moisture off of the canned artichokes. The oil is much more difficult, obviously, than the
Yeah.
water because it wants to glaze it. And then you put the artichokes into the cream that's on medium high. You put the 2 eggs in. See, that was the part that surprised me, I guess, was that the eggs took the same amount of time as browning the artichokes. Makes sense now that I've done it. You sprinkle the chopped garlic over top and you cook for 4 to 5 minutes. And what happens is what we have in our pan is that the cream has browned and broken. So when I say broken, it's separated from the butter fat and the whey in the cream. So cream is essentially just whole milk that has more of the
Fat.
goodness left in it, the fat left in it, right? So if you were to beat cream and make whipped cream and then beat it further, it turns into, separates into butter and whey. And that's essentially what we've done here, but it's browned at the same time.
And the only difference is, Tom didn't want to listen to this, but you're supposed to build your pan and then put it on the fire as opposed to put it on the fire, boil the cream, and like he did. But I was trying to tell him that, but he didn't want to listen. But anyway, it wouldn't make much of a difference, but it'll make a little bit of difference. You heard that, Tom?
I heard you, chef.
It's
So-
the first time is what we recommend is to make the recipe the way the chef wrote it. Whoever wrote that recipe.
Molly Baz.
So what at this point, I've got this beautiful brown bottom. It looks like anyway. I haven't looked underneath, but I've got this brown bottom. I still have a little bit of a runniness left in the yolk, but the whites are cooked, which is exactly what the recipe says. So it seems to me like it was cooked right at the right amount.
Uh-oh, I feel
then
some
you-
sticking.
And then you take the artichokes, and they are brown on the bottom. The way the picture looks in the on the website is that you put the artichokes on you kind of get them out. See, that looks perfect.
Yeah, that's
there.
perfect.
Okay, and we're going to
I like the browning on the
we're
artichoke.
going to put them on a circle on the plate, and then we're going to take the egg part,
Put it in the middle.
put that right in the middle, because it makes it look the picture on the recipe makes it look like it was just slid out of the pan, but then you wouldn't see the brown side of the
I know.
artichoke.
First of all, it would not be able to slide because of that cooking, the method, the way you're doing it. It wouldn't be able to slide out of the pan.
And you wouldn't see the brown part.
Unless you had a non-stick pan, maybe that would
maybe,
work.
maybe so with the nonstick, yeah.
The recipe called for nonstick.
Oh, did it?
Guess
Well, if
what?
you talk to
Guess
All-Clad,
what?
they would
We qualify as chef on one side because we actually recognize that if you had a non-stick, it
I
would
think
work
you
better.
qualify as a
And then
chef.
we're cold on being chef because we didn't read the recipe correctly.
Oh
What?
no, it looks perfect to me.
It looks
so I
perfect.
don't know what everyone is yakking about.
What would you
Us.
else could you cream fry? Do you think?
Well, I
beside
think
an
you could
egg?
do just about anything as long as you get cream. You start with the cream, and then you can build anything around that.
So
You
it
could do
could be a butter
potatoes.
substitute.
If you had
right?
some blanched
Totally.
potatoes, your potato would have to be pre-cooked. If you had some blanched potatoes, or if you had some sweet potato, for example, that was pre-roasted or blanched, you could use that. You could use any vegetable in the spring. Peas come to mind, any kind of thing, and keep adding the egg in the middle. It would be a great breakfast if you ask me. You could do chopped bacon that's already pre-rendered. You could use the rendered fat to put in your cream.
Whoa.
Don't tell anybody I said that.
But you would only use it for something that only needed to cook for a short amount of time.
Or something that's
So you
pre-cooked.
couldn't start
the
with
artichoke
a
are
raw
pre-cooked.
broccoli or raw
No,
mushroom.
No, it
Start
wouldn't
with-
cook.
You could start with raw broccoli.
No,
Jeff
you would
and I
not.
disagree on this.
I disagree entirely with that.
Yeah.
That's bogus. You just pre-roast your vegetable, then you put them in the pan. This is not meant to cook.
She said could. She didn't say should. You could start with raw broccoli.
Well, I guess you could do anything in life.
Thank you very much, Chef.
Yeah, but
I knew
cook-
I was correct on
If
this
you
one.
put your raw broccoli in there, it's going to be the same way when you eat it.
No.
5 minutes later,
I disagree with
Oh.
Chef on this.
sacrilege. What am I even trying?
Because-
Anyway,
because you're making an
This is
excellent
a
point.
great way to use your leftovers in your refrigerator. You open the refrigerator door and you go, oh, I got these 2 roasted carrots, I got a bit of broccoli, I got some sauteed mushroom.
But I'm out of butter.
If you don't have that in your fridge as leftover, you're doing something wrong. Anyway, you have that leftovers. That's a great way to use them. Put it in the cream, put your egg in the middle, and then cook the whole thing, and you'll have exactly the same results. But if you start with raw mushroom and raw broccoli and raw carrots, you'll have the same product when you're done with your eggs because it's not meant to cook, it's meant to warm up. That's what they use the artichoke.
That's why they use the canned artichoke. Yeah,
Correct, canned
those are
artichoke.
cooked already.
Yeah, good point. It wouldn't work with the raw.
And
All
then the
right, I
cheese.
think we did
I
justice.
think, I think there's certainly a few vegetables. I think thin sliced raw broccoli would work. Peas, corn, things like that would work.
He's coming around,
Where you
Terry.
don't have to. You don't have to.
I want
worry
to do
about
mushrooms
cooking
in it.
Yeah, sauteed mushroom would work.
But
pretty
really,
well.
the point is the cream, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The technique that's different is the cream, and you have to look at it like it's butter. It's essentially what it is.
And don't make that dish 3 times a day. Okay, one time is enough, and don't have that every morning for breakfast, because it's a beautiful thing. This is not bad for you if you don't eat it every day. How's that?
So, what else do you do with leftover cream, Chef? Over the holidays, I ended up with 2 partial pints of cream left over, and generally they have a pretty good shelf life. If you look at them,
Right.
at least when I buy them, they're usually 3-4 weeks out before you need
Right.
to chuck them. So you can pull that out of the fridge and make creme fraiche.
I have 3 half pint started in my freezer,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not been able to finish on time. and I put it in the freezer.
So you can freeze the cream.
I freeze the cream,
Right.
and then what I do is when I decide I'm going to make I don't know, potato leek cream soup, for example, or a seafood bisque or something like that. That's when I pull all that stuff out of the freezer and use that cream. Because that cream is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's
And it
just
freezes
not.
beautifully.
It's better to put it in the freezer than getting out of date, like, and 2 months after the date, you go, okay, finally I can throw this thing away.
All right.
Yeah,
What
just-
else? Creme fraiche?
You can do cream.
I like how it gets that little sour.
I've never froze cream. If you freeze cream, you
No, I'm
change.
talking about just leftover cream.
Or leftover, then
Yeah.
definitely creme fraiche. Absolutely.
And how long do you have to let that sit on the counter?
2 days. is
2
fine.
days.
Yeah. In your house, 2 days would be more than fine.
Okay.
After you add vinegar or lemon.
You don't put vinegar. You just use sour cream.
Oh,
Just a dollop of
Oh.
sour.
to start
I'm
the
sorry, not sour cream. What's the other cream? Yeah, sour cream.
buttermilk.
Buttermilk. Thank you. I was like, this is not sour cream. Buttermilk. 2 cups of buttermilk per quart and a half of heavy cream. So obviously you
Sour
shrink,
cream works too.
shrink that down.
Yeah.
And then you bring it to 80 degrees temperature, and then you stop, and then you just put it away.
At room temp.
You put it away in a container on room temp, cheesecloth on top. Keep it on your shelf in your kitchen, and you'll have creme fraiche in a day to 2 days. And then what you do is you put a spoon in it. That's how you can tell if it's really thick or not.
And then you go get some caviar.
Now, if you want to make the creme fraiche last even longer after that, shelf life, you take the crust that's on top off, and then you take the cream with a spoon off the container all the way down to the whey and get rid of the whey. Because the whey is actually what makes things go bad. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
I'm going to do that.
I don't know if I believe you. She's a big talker sometimes. Yeah.
Well,
I do believe that you're going to make some sourdough, and that I do believe that I actually might make some sourdough because I didn't realize how important the starter was to the variancy of the bread itself.
yeah,
I thought a starter's a starter. You feed it, you don't, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. I didn't really think about it that
it's
much.
a serious, making bread is a commitment.
You know what it's time for, Chef?
Oh, let me get, tasty trivia.
Yeah, it's brought to you by Rub with Love Spice Rubs, made right there in Ballard, my warehouse. And we are going to take a break before we do this because everyone's going to want to scoot up to the radio, turn the volume up, and play along. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
I think.
Aaron, get your butt up here. We want a waiter up here.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
Oh, we're dead. We're dead.
I want a perfectionist.
We need a victim.
To Ben's chair. Yep.
Actually, this is your chair, not Ben's chair.
Yep.
Ben is
Aaron's
not here
chair.
anymore. So
Yeah.
get as close, Aaron. Get as close as possible to the mic.
Okay.
Don't you think, Shills?
Aaron, listen to me.
Bring it
Yeah.
to you.
And listen to me.
Yes.
Oh, now you sound like you're on
There you go.
NPR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want Jim and Frank to hover in the background in case?
Hell no.
Oh, okay.
Hell no. Jim is too good.
Hovering.
She's going to be fine. She's totally fine.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. I think she'd be
I'm
awesome.
totally playing hooky from work right now, by the way.
Oh, we hope they're
So
not
I'm
listening.
now-
You're
I am-
live. You're live on
Unless they're on
You're live on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Oh, good.
Where do
Okay.
you work?
I work at Amazon.
Don't say anybody. Don't say it.
it.
Don't say it. Where do you work? I work for the Postal Service.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
Well, I left Rovers 15 years ago to go work for Amazon.
Isn't that crazy?
No,
So now you're a bazillionaire. What are you gonna do with all your money?
I'm not a bazillionaire.
Like,
Okay, now you're flying rockets. What are you gonna do with all your money?
I did just buy a vacation house in Spain.
Ah,
I'm not a millionaire.
Oh,
in Spain or in
Spain.
Portugal?
Spain,
Spain.
Yeah.
Where in Spain?
a little tiny town called Agua Amarga,
And where is it?
south of Spain, near Almeria, Andalusia.
In the-
Mediterranean.
Yeah.
You hang out with good.
and what's the address?
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Número 4, calle Estanque, Agua Amarga.
Ah, sí,
right.
te hablar español, está bien.
Claro que sí.
I'll
¿Te
trade
acuerdas?
you a week in at our farm in Yakima for a week
In Brussels. A week in Brussels for a week in southern Spain.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Ours comes with chickens. Does yours?
Not yet.
No.
Fresh eggs laid every morning.
This
Yeah,
comes from a bull that doesn't like red.
none of that.
It's going to attack you as soon as you come out of the
Why
house.
did you choose Spain?
I have been traveling to Spain since I was 17 frequently. I have friends there that are like old family friends. And so
Nice.
that's where they vacation. And we've been going there every few years to hang out with them. And finally I said, you know what?
We might as well stay.
Might as well get a little place so I can go more often.
Where do you fly into? Madrid?
Either Madrid or I usually fly into Madrid. Amsterdam's also nice because then I can get a direct hop down to Almeria.
Mm.
That's a good
That's cool.
idea.
All
Are
right,
you
you
gonna
ready
let
to wrap
Jim
this
come?
up?
Anytime he wants, he can go stay. Yeah.
I love it.
He's been with us,
Uh,
but to a rental before.
nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a great idea.
She
Oh,
was a bazillionaire
Before the stock dropped, no.
Before she met you?
before she made my birthday dinner.
Yeah, it's going to be a while to recover.
But it'll be a little bit. But I did get out that had the tie on, the apron.
I remember
white
that.
button down
I
shirt.
remember that so vividly.
Yep.
She was always tightened. Beautiful.
It was a lot of fun.
Yep. Those were the days.
Those were the Rovers days.
That's right.
Okay, let's wrap this up.
And
You
look,
guys
look, where
ready?
look where he drove me to the radio show with Tom Douglas every week.
Well, you were desperate to learn how to cook. And
I
so
know.
I
and I had
took
to
you
come
under my
here to
wing.
learn how to
Great,
cook.
great height.
Took you under my wing, and here we are today, making artichokes and
Flying
fried
really
eggs.
low. Pretty much under the radar.
All right,
Yeah.
here. I better soak this pan for a bit.
So
Yeah, that's one thing about that dish. You'll have dishes to do that need scrubbing.
My bad. I
Well,
didn't
maybe
pull
not
out
if
the
you use-
nonstick.
Maybe not if you use a non-stick pan.
Well, then you have all the fluorocarbons in your eggs.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's
who wants
true.
that?
Mm.
Pamela does. She loves chemicals.
Mike's going to make us get rid of the gas stove. All that.
There's a lot of chatter about that.
A
right
lot of
now.
chatter.
I would tell you that we've had a gas stove in our house all my growing up years: 6 burners, 2 ovens, 2 broilers, 8 children. Not one has died of asthma yet.
Thank goodness.
That's refreshing.
Well, isn't that what they're saying? It's like they're thinking it might cause asthma or something.
Yeah.
Not trying to trivialize the point, but let's do trivia.
Okay, let's go.
All right. Welcome back. It's the Hot Stove Society Show. It's time for food for thought, tasty trivia, brought to you by Rub with Love Spice Rub Blends, an important spice rub to have in your pantry. Don't you think, Chef?
I have all of them.
Your wife uses the veggie rub on popcorn, I
That's right.
understand. Yeah.
She used them last night on the Golden Globe.
On the globe itself. She
That's
just
right.
sprinkled- Awesome. They can either inspire a meal or enhance one. Our family of rubs now includes 20 different flavors, 4 sauces, and a terrific mustard, which, by the way, I went to Shoreline Central Market to buy some shallot mustard. My toasted, they don't carry it anymore. I was despondent. You can find Rub with Love locally at fine realtors like retailers like Hagen Foods, Bartell Drugs, Metropolitan Markets, Shoreline Markets. Are you someplace else other than the Pacific Northwest? Check out Northwest Seafood in Gainesville, Florida, Nelson's Meats in Albuquerque, New Mexico, or you got Gadaletto's Seafoods in Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
You
The
are all over the
mushroom-
map.
The mushroom capital of the world. Have you ever driven through Westchester and seen all the mushroom houses?
Wow, I want to.
It's spectacular.
There is actually a mushroom capital of the world.
It used to be called the mushroom. They still have signs.
I thought the Pacific Northwest was the capital mushroom of the world.
Not of cultivated mushrooms.
Oh,
All right, Pamela, tell people how to play the game and who's going to be our winner today and who are we playing against? I feel like we have some fresh.
Aaron Covington is in the house,
Competition
having
here, yeah.
just survived cooking a beautiful dinner for Jim Maurer. And so we've invited her to join us. Each of the 3 contestants are getting 5 questions, and somebody's going to get the most right.
Exactly.
I
And
know-
Aaron, by the way,
Oh, dear.
Chef, tell us
Yeah,
who
Aaron
Aaron is.
used to be a lead server at Rovers for 8 years, and believe me, I am in fear right now. We're not gonna
Really?
make this.
I don't
She
even know
seems
what I'm
kind of-
playing.
She seems a little buttoned up, like
She's
she's
very smart,
yeah,
too smart for my own good.
and
tell
she
you
has a
that.
house in Spain.
Yes, I mean, she speaks English and Spanish fluent,
2 languages? Me
Fluent.
too.
and French. She speaks some French too, a little bit.
Un peu.
Un peu.
Un peu, yeah.
petit peu.
Yeah, exactly. Un petit peu.
See, I just spoke French too. Does that make me
That was nobody. I thought everybody thought you were sick.
okay? Let's get started.
All right, Chef in the Hat.
Okay.
Number 1. What is the name of the edible mollusk found off the coast of California that is shaped like a human ear? Look at that look you're giving
Like
me.
a human gear?
Human ear.
Ear. Oh,
Ear.
ear. I thought gear. I was like, what?
It's what I was working on at my workout
It's
this morning.
the famous
It's what I was
beautiful,
working on at my workout this morning.
talking.
You know
On
it.
your, it's what you were what?
Working on at my workout this morning.
Chop, chop. You're right.
I do know what it is.
I know.
Absaloni.
Oh yes.
Abalone.
abalone,
Thank you.
What's absaloni for you?
Abs. I know you can't see them, but
Abs
I
only.
was working on them.
Number 2, multiple choice. Is the cashew native to Pennsylvania, Germany, or Brazil?
Brazil,
Of course it is.
Pennsylvania.
Number 3, please tell us what doner kebab is.
Does it start with no?
His first name was Jeffrey.
Yeah, I heard that, and the movie just gets some nicer word. No idea.
Meat on meat cooked on a vertical rotisserie that's been seasoned.
Like gyros.
Like
Might be the
euros,
same
yeah.
thing,
Doner kebab.
That's called a. Can you repeat the name?
Doner kebab.
Doner kebab.
Doner kebab. I think that's a made-up word in English.
What is
Sure.
the other common name for filbert?
Noisette.
We'll
It's a
take
French
that.
word.
She said common name.
Common name, noisette.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that word.
You went above and beyond.
Thank you.
We'll give you that.
It's hazelnut in English.
And what does the French term partie noble refer to?
Partie noble. I'm gonna have to guess that one. I like that. That's a French word. I like it. I'm gonna guess then it's partie noble.
If you don't know, who knows, Chef?
I know exactly. Maybe something to do with a beautiful banquet and something nicely decorated and
It
very
is
noble.
the parts of an animal eaten by the hunters immediately after a successful
Oh
kill.
my god!
Of course.
Wow, Chef, you couldn't have been more incorrect.
I know. It's like I had no. Oh, yes,
Aaron,
3 out of 5. Hey, 3 out of 5.
You're not
Aaron,
taking the first one.
Aaron. 2 out of 5. Thank you.
You're keeping
true or
score.
false? The leaves and vines of a tomato plant are toxic.
True.
Exactly. What popular Chinese cooking utensil is shaped like a huge contact lens?
A wok.
Yes.
These are
What?
kind of gimmies here.
That was. You could make it a little bit harder.
No, don't.
She's
don't.
well
Oh, this
educated.
one's really
She's a
hard.
well-educated person.
What is the name of the smooth Mediterranean paste made from sesame seeds?
Smooth Mediterranean. Tahini.
Yep. Screaming to the forefront.
Yeah.
Ice cream was not invented until the 18th century. The frozen confection available before that was sherbet, also called sorbet. Which culture invented this confection? Was it the Turks, the Arabs, or the Chinese?
I have no idea, so I'm gonna go Chinese.
Yes, she's smart,
Beautiful.
smart.
It's a guess.
And finally, this is multiple choice. Is couscous made from wheat, barley, or lentils?
Wheat.
Wow.
5
5 out of 5. Wow.
Chef, I think we got hosed.
No, I told you. I mean,
I think
Yeah.
those questions might have been a little stacked for you? Guys?
Tom Douglas.
Oh, you should see the one Tom's gonna get.
A marshmallow is a highly mandible food. What does mandible mean?
It's
means
held by
when
a
you
man.
put it on a mandolin, you can shred it into little. No, a mandible. Let's say elastic.
Close. We'll give it to you. It means chewable.
Chewable.
Yeah.
Chewable. What is a brochette?
Something you put on your lapel.
A pointed culinary skewer
Yeah.
or a dish of skewered meats. Oh, you knew that, but
Yeah.
you were just
It was a
goofing
joke, man.
around.
A kebab.
The Dutch doctor who invented gin in the mid 17th century claimed it cured a variety of ailments because of what ingredient?
Juniper.
Yes. Number 4. What are the dominant seasonings in Korean kimchi?
Well, the most dominant one is chili. There's
Yes. Can you name any others?
salt.
That's not a.
We were looking for garlic, horseradish, and ginger
Huh.
as the trademark.
Well, kimchi is different in every household.
I know,
so
but this was
don't
Korean.
be putting your kimchi on my doorstep.
When did Louis Pasteur develop the process that made milk safe to drink? Multiple choice: 1862, 1902, or 1951?
1902.
1862.
Wow, right
Whoa.
before the Civil War. Who knew?
Who knew? Good
Yeah,
thing.
maybe that's
4
what
out
we
of
were-
5.
Not
Aaron,
bad.
Aaron,
Aaron
wins
is our winner.
largely.
Congratulations. Aaron, you get to choose any 3 rubs out of the gift shop, which will be open in just a minute after I do this final read. And there's a gift box over there you can fill up. And, if I were you, I would not give it to your father-in-law. If you want to be part of the show, you can come to the studio here at the Hot Stove and join the taping on YouTube Live. Find us at Tom Douglas and Company. Also, remember, if you miss any episode of the Hot Stove Society Show in Cairo, you can listen via podcast. Just subscribe to your favorite podcast app.
Thank you for listening and have a fabulous weekend.
All right. We just have to be quiet for 1 second. Eamon, that includes you. Oh, I should add this to the other promo, Sean Dettori, when you're editing this. The show is produced by Pamela Hinckley. Sean McFadden is our technical director, and our editor at Cairo is the talented Mr. Sean, don't call me Del Torre. You already said thanks for listening. All right, here we go. Hi, I'm Chef Tom Douglas.
And I'm Terry Rochero, the chef in the hat.
This afternoon on the Hot Stove Society radio show, we talk about crispy, creamy croquettes, soul-warming vegetarian entrees, the big possibilities for sable fish masquerading as black cod, and high anticipation for Ben Spread's new spot on Greenwood Avenue. Okay,
Beautiful. It's a wrap. Thank you, Aaron.
That was good fun. Thank you.